Welcome to the Sharing Grace podcast, a ministry of Church at Vieira on the Space Coast of Florida. Our desire is to share grace with everyone and see Christ change lives. We hope that this podcast helps you embrace the grace of God and empowers you to share it with everyone. Let's jump into today's conversation.
Guys, thanks so much for being on the Sharing Grace podcast this week. Jay, our discipleship pastor, and Pastor Mark preached an incredible message on John chapter 12 this Sunday in our series called It's Personal. It's been, again, just a great series. Your message title was called A Next Level Life. We're going to unpack that a little bit more later. But I wanted to start off today's podcast with a little bit of a personal question in light of your message. When someone is generous with their time, treasure, and talents, it's often very impactful to the person who's receiving it, also to the one who's giving it, but also to the one who's receiving it. Generosity often leaves a gigantic mark, a good mark, not just on others, but on us too. So what's the most meaningful thing that anybody's been generous with you before? Some gift, something significant that you've received from somebody else?
Oh, I was thinking about the question being I was the one giving.
Oh, well, do that.
I'm going to have to think about that.
Do that.
Yeah, so I was away at a conference, and I was worn out. Just, ministry had been away from home. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine and Melissa's was going to the mission field, and they needed to liquidate some of the things that they were at their house because it was going to be 3 years before they were going to be back. And this particular person had a really cool convertible that I loved. I always loved it so much. And so when I got back from the conference, my wife had bought me that car.
What?
And she had it sitting in the driveway waiting on me. And then I gave that car to my son when he graduated college. So it was kind of a both and, but it started with my wife.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No wonder you love your wife so much.
Oh, man, she treats me better than
Yeah, as far as receiving gifts, obviously my parents have given me the greatest gifts I've ever given.
Yeah.
Not only a college degree, but lots of money that they've provided for needs I had in seminary and those kind of things. Mm-hmm. I've had someone give me a car before. Where that was really kind of special. They just said God told me to give me a car. But as far as mine, I've given the most to Church of Vieira through the years. We've done 5 building campaigns, so we've been very generous to the church through that.
Yeah.
And I know I'm supposed to say Kelly next. Which I have given her some very significant gifts, but really my kids, by paying for each of their college
That's a
college
big deal.
degrees, that's probably the greatest gift I've given.
So good.
That's really good. Mine's a car. I was in my freshman year of college. I had a rough first semester, didn't want to go back. I was challenged and encouraged to do so, and one of the gifts I received going into my second semester in my freshman year was it wouldn't have been brand new, but for me it was new, a 1979 Pontiac Bonneville.
Nice.
It was a gigantic boat. It was
22
lime green.
people in it.
It was lime green, and we could fit a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
And that was before everybody needed seatbelts, so you packed it up.
No, wear a
I can just
seatbelt?
imagine.
Didn't even think about it. But it did have the bench seats made with that fabric that felt like velvet, but it wasn't velvet. And then it led to me meeting my wife. I would have never met my wife if I didn't have the courage and the initiative to go back to school that second semester. So
I thought she was impressed with the car you were driving.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
She married you in spite of your
To this day, if you asked her about it, she'd tell you she loved that car. She loved that car. It was nice.
I'm going to ask her.
It leaked oil horribly, but it was in mint condition in every other area. So, yeah. So that was one of the most generous gifts I've received. Isn't that funny? We all kind of had that, the car. So if you want to give a generous gift to any of us, a car's a nice gift. Yeah.
But it pays a lot.
Well, let's jump into the passage. John chapter 12, such a good story. And I hate to even say the word story. This was an event that took place. Jesus returns to Bethany, back to the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, which we were just there a few weeks ago. This isn't just a meal he shares with them. This is a reunion with a man who was literally dead and now is alive again. I bet we can't even imagine what that atmosphere must have been like. So what does this say about Jesus and about his relationship with people and the fact that he chooses to share a meal with Lazarus, whom he raised from the dead.
It is personal. I mean, that's probably the most amazing thing about Jesus Christ is that he really does truly, genuinely enjoy being with people. He's not that God who just gets things in motion and then goes off and does his own thing, and we're just like the little, inklings down here, and he doesn't really care about us. He really does care about having friends, and it's amazing that he can have a friendship with every one of us at the same time.
That is crazy.
You brought up something in your message about the one who was healed from leprosy, and that was the home that we think that he was in this story. And it was just interesting how those different relationships overlapped, and I loved how you brought in that was the one that came back, and that was really helpful.
Yeah. My thoughts on this were just simply Jesus is deeply relational. He just doesn't want to sit and do the miracles, do things for people. He wants to be with people. That was the thought that I imagined in this moment. He celebrates life. Jesus celebrates life. He's celebrating that Lazarus, who was once dead, is now alive. So these are some of the just simple thoughts of the beauty of that moment. So Mary doesn't hold back. This is really the emphasis of the passage. She pours out a year's worth of perfume onto Jesus, not just a little drop, but a year's worth, the whole thing. She doesn't hesitate. That kind of generosity had to turn heads and ultimately will reveal hearts. So here's the question. Why do you think Mary was so willing to give up something so costly to Jesus? And then how does that challenge us in the way that we think about what's too much to give to Jesus? What are your thoughts there,
What do you
Jay?
think, Jay?
I try to put it in context in my own relationships, and you brought up your kids. I mean, we're willing to give everything and sacrifice everything for the ones that we truly, deeply love. No matter what the cost is, we're willing to sacrifice it. And I think in that moment, Mary was just willing to sacrifice what was most valuable to her. She knew it was the most valuable thing, and for her to do this was basically saying, "You are worthy. You are fully valuable."
Yeah, 300 denarii, so a year's wages for a worker. That's a lifetime savings. I mean, she's using it as her savings account. She's adding to it. She's going to look at it. It's the most precious thing. When she has a down day, she goes and looks at it and thinks about it. Hey, I've got a safety net here if something happens. And now she finds this one who becomes her safety net. And that's why I think she was willing to give it up, is because if I'm trusting in Jesus with my life, I don't have to worry about things anymore as much.
Wow.
And I want to give to him because this is my chance right before he dies to, prepare him for his burial.
That's really good. So much symbolism in this. We could spend hours unpacking it. But we had an email from one of our listeners who actually heard your message. And so he came up to me on Sunday and he said, "Hey, I've got a question." I said, "That's great. Why don't you send it to the podcast this week?" So it was all around the jar itself. And I thought it was interesting, so let's ask. I'm going to try to get your wisdom on it. So he asked, the event of Mary anointing the feet of Jesus, it's also found in other passages. It's found in Mark and in the book of Matthew. So Mark's version of the account states that she broke the alabaster flask, is the language in Mark chapter 14. Is there any significance to the fact that the jar was broken?
Again, I think it's her saying, I'm wanting to give it all. And by breaking it, she can never go back and use it for herself again. But we were talking about this earlier. It's kind of hard to pour it slowly out on his feet and his head, and I think she just wanted to get to it. So she just broke it so she could quickly put it in her hands and just put it all over him.
Yeah, that's good.
What do you think, Jay?
It's always the why. It's the thinking of what this is coming from. So alabaster, the jar, would have probably come from India. It was something that was precious that had been traded. I even wonder, how did they make their money? Were they actually people who trafficked in this stuff, and this was one of her finest gifts? I don't know. This is all extra.
You went dark quick with that.
Did I?
No, that's all right.
And so the jar is sealed. The intent is for it to be able to travel from place to place and not spill out any. And then once it is used, just a drop or two is significantly enough to fill the whole house. And so for her to break this open, it had to be broken some way and then kept just to even get into the contents to begin with. But then I just started thinking of what was the aroma
Yes.
that must have come from that, of something that would only require a couple of drops, and now it's just absolutely permeating the
Everywhere.
entire room. Yeah,
Could have been smelt in the village, right?
all the way outside.
Yeah, could it still been on his clothing when he was getting crucified?
Fascinating.
Yes.
Would she be smelling it all week because it's on her too?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
And then
Good question.
every time you smell it again, like it brings you back to that moment. Like
That's a
every
great
time
moment.
that smell comes into your
Yeah,
nostril,
smell has a way
for
of
the rest of
sticking
your
with you,
life.
doesn't it? Yeah, you never forget it. I remember that smell. Where did I smell it? That's so good. Well, this is just a good reminder. We love questions. In fact, this is one of the first questions we've received. So if you have a question for us to talk about and discuss on the Sharing Grace podcast, it's simply that, sharinggrace@churchatviera.com. Send us a question. We'd love to tackle it. We may not answer every one of them, but we'll give it a shot. So there you go. Let's talk about this for a moment. She just doesn't pour out the perfume. John's very specific. She wiped Jesus' feet with her hair. That's not normal, especially in that day and age. I think it's bold. I think it's vulnerable. I think it's humble and even probably uncomfortable for people to watch in that moment. But Jesus calls it beautiful. What does Mary's act of wiping Jesus' feet with her hair tell us about her heart? And have you ever felt led to love Jesus in a way that felt bold, even risky? Let's talk about that for a moment.
again, as I said in the message, I think it was a statement to say, "There's nothing beneath me that I would not do for you, Jesus." And I think somebody needs to, prepare your body for a burial, and I'm willing to use my hands to do that. In my life, I think that some of those moments have come on impact trips, mission trips around the world. You go to Haiti, you go to Africa, you go to Costa Rica slums, you go to some of these places. And when you're on these teams, you do things that you normally don't do. And you do things that probably servants would normally do. And so you really have to humble yourself and say, I'm doing this for Jesus. But you remember the passage where Jesus says, when you do this to the least of these, you're doing it unto me. And so those things, when we do those things to humble ourselves, we're doing them for Jesus.
She actually did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been normal for someone to have washed the feet of the people who had come to dinner. You're probably going to talk about that some more next week as we look and trying to figure that out. The book of John is unique in that Matthew, Mark, and Luke, 90% of the content can be found in those three books, but in John, 90% is missing. For some reason, this story makes the 10% that is in two of the other books.
It's memorable.
And so it's something that's very significant that I think Jesus is really wanting to get across in all of the different writings. And it comes to this thought that she is there, and it is her hair. You mentioned this in your sermon. Her hair would have been her glory. It would have been the best of what she has. Women honored that. They didn't bring it out in public. It was something that was very sacred and almost scandalous for her to have brought that out. And it's almost like she's saying, my glory is nothing compared to your glory, and just really laying herself down as a servant. And even the thing that most women would glorify about themselves, their hair, before other women, because they're the ones that see it. Their husbands, their close family, and their friends are the only ones that would see the hair and the glory. And she's actually using her glory for the glory of God.
That's good.
That's a good point, Jay. You mentioned that here it's in John, and he doesn't include every story that the other ones do. I really do believe it's because John wanted Mary of Bethany to get the credit, because Jesus, remember, he said, when the gospel is shared around the world, her name and what she did is going to be remembered. It would not have been remembered if they just listened to Matthew and Mark, because it said the woman. It doesn't say
They don't
Mary
mention
of
her by
Bethany,
name.
but he mentions her name.
Man, the Bible's so good, isn't it?
That's a good point, Mark. That's awesome, man. Well, let's jump into this question. This is a good one. Jesus said of Mary, I love this statement, she did what she could. She did what she could. That line is packed with so much meaning. It wasn't just about the perfume. It was about the timing. It was about her obedience. It was about her heart. So what does it mean for us today to do what we can for Jesus? And is there something or someone in front of you right now that you shouldn't delay responding to? Jay, you got any thoughts there?
So I'm going to pick up on what I just said coming from your message. It just really started me thinking this week about what is my glory? What is it that I have to offer? that a lot of times I think about, this is who I am, this is my identity, and this is how the world is going to know me or the things I'm going to accomplish with my life. How can I take what God has given me, my talents, my abilities, my finances, all of those things, and say, not for my glory, but for your glory, God, and just lay that at your feet. What was the second part of the question?
Well, is there something in front of you right now that you might be delaying, and maybe because of this story you've been challenged, hey, maybe I shouldn't wait?
Yeah, I think in general, and because we do what we do, we have the opportunity to share Christ with people on a regular basis. There's opportunity. But there are moments that I'm like, well, I'm just going to take a break from this. And God's challenged me to say, don't take a break from me.
Yeah.
Give me all of it. Just live boldly, live strongly, and just see what I can do in those moments if you give it to me.
Yeah, I've shared on this podcast very vulnerably the challenges that I'm facing right now with caring for Kelly.
Yeah.
And one of those things is I can't go on global mission trips because I just can't leave her very much, go international and those kind of things. And to be honest, it's heartbreaking for me because it's one of my passions. It always has been. To go on these global mission trips. So, God has said to me, Mark, maybe you can't do that right now, but there are plenty of things you can do to care for people in Brevard County, and
That's
you can
good.
do that on these 4, 3, 2, 1 days and other things that we do. So just do what you can.
Do what you can.
That's one of the things that he's telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's some there's some thoughts to the timing of Mary in this. She didn't wait for perfection, right? She just stepped into a moment that she felt like she could offer something. And that's the other point that I think we can make with this is so many people are waiting not only for the right time to do something, even though they could do now, they could respond now, but they're waiting for the right resources. When I have these resources, then I will be able to do this and this and this. And I think this story reminds us there's always something that you can do now.
Yes.
There's always something you can do now. So
And there's always going to be things that you're going to say, oh, this is getting in the way. So
that's right.
There's always going to be something in the way. You're just going to have to push through it.
That's good. Well, last question for today. We've looked at Mary's extravagant generosity, her humility. We looked at her bold love for Jesus. I don't think it was about impressing anyone in this moment. I don't believe that. I think it was more about honoring Jesus fully. I think we've touched on that today with everything she had. So you mentioned 5 qualities of the next level life, Mark, on Sunday. It was followship, which is a word that you made up. Good word. Gratitude, generosity, service, and love. Those 5 areas. And if you're listening, let me repeat them. Followship, gratitude, generosity, service, and love. Which one do you sense God is inviting you to grow in right now? And what's one step you think you can take this week to live that out?
All 5.
You can.
All 5. But if I
All
could
5?
pick just 2, it'd be gratitude. Again, I think no matter what's going on in your world, and right now I'm going through some challenges in my life, to be honest, personally, but you should be grateful for so many of the things that God has done for you that day or that week, and just continue to be grateful. I think the other one is just audacious love. I love that she was willing to just do it no matter what the critics thought, no matter what anybody else thought. She was so focused on Jesus. I want to be more like that.
That's good.
Just, I don't care what anybody else thinks. If Jesus is pleased with this, that's all that matters.
That's really good.
I'm just going to default to what Mark said. Yeah. Even though I love fellowship, I'm going to use that. But gratitude and love.
Yeah.
That centers you correctly to be able to face challenges.
Yeah. Mine's love. Interesting. That's consistent between all of us. Maybe we got to work on some things, guys. Mine is love. I think there's just some seasons, some relationships that I'm a part of that it's just not easy to love. And I've been challenged to even press into those moments closer, even when there is tension. And to take that step of boldness, that bold kind of love, just to press into that. Not be afraid of the conversations, knowing that through the hard conversations, hopefully the truth will be revealed. So that's really where I've been kind of challenged, even just listening to this podcast and to your message on Sunday. So good stuff. Any more thoughts on John chapter 13? Kind of a quick one today, guys.
Yeah, I'll just pick up a little bit on what you just said about love. There's a word that has really captured my attention, I've said it a couple of times on this podcast, is compassion.
Yeah.
If I care enough for what the other person is going through, their perspective, I don't have to agree with all of it. But if I'm compassionate upon them as someone who is struggling through life just like I am, rather than being judgmental, it allows me then to move into a love position of doing what's right for the benefit of others, regardless of how I feel about it sometimes.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah.
Great word.
Will you mind praying us out today, Jay?
Yeah, great. Thanks. God, I do thank you for the name of Mary that you give us to proclaim. And Lord, her story, the truth of her story, the fact that it is in 3 different Gospels shows that it was one of the stories that you wanted us to think about and understand and see. God, we didn't even get to talking about the fact that this was in preparation for your burial, and she was preparing because she knew you as Messiah when other people were trying to figure out who you were. She knew that. So let us know you you are a Messiah. Let us be incredibly generous with what you've given us, and let us not hold back any way in the things you've given us to do. I thank you for her message, and I thank you for the gospel that gives us the opportunity to just have the freedom to live in love with you. And pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to the Sharing Grace podcast. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send us an email to sharinggrace@churchatviera.com. If you don't have a church home, we would love to invite you to one of our 3 Sunday services at 8:30, 10, and 11:30 a.m. You can learn more about Church at Viera by visiting churchatviera.com. If this podcast was helpful to you in any way, please subscribe, write a review, or share it with a friend. This will tremendously help us get the word out about this resource. We look forward to catching up with you next time on the Sharing Grace podcast.